Hi, everyone. It's Leslie here, and I am so happy to be home. I've been away for about 2.5 weeks, and nothing like home. Last week, I was in Toronto. Some of you may have seen my face on Instagram. I have never been active on Instagram myself. Our Instagram account, I started, and then it got hacked, and I never went back on it. But I was at a meeting called Tribe in Ontario, and not Ontario, in Toronto, and it's about membership, helping your membership get stronger and better. And I have a membership, Conquer. Many of you are part of Conquer, and so I want to do all I can to enhance that experience of membership and helping people to feel safe and heard and all of that. So anyways, I was there with Georgia. Neither one of us knew how to do Instagram, so we figured it out. We posted our picture on Instagram saying we're in Toronto, and we were so darn proud of ourselves. And I say this to you because sometimes we stay stuck and I can't. We stay stuck and I can't, or I'm afraid. Now, today we're not going to talk about those two things. What we are going to talk about, though, is the dark side of love and compassion. When does love and compassion, one of our 4 elements of core strength, when does it become toxic? When does love and compassion become toxic? So I just want to give a shout out for my son, Ryan. It's his birthday today. So I'm sure he's not watching me, but I just want to honor him and say happy birthday, Ryan. But, and they're coming, my family's coming up this weekend for Labor Day weekend to celebrate my birthday, his birthday, and my daughter's birthday. We're all within 1 week or week and a half. So we all have like this group party together. So it's lots of fun. Anyway, back to the topic. When does love and empathy become toxic? Because our 4 core elements of core strength are C, I'm courageously committed to truth. I'm going to stop pretending. I'm going to stop lying to myself. O, I'm going to be open to new experiences. Just like I went to Toronto this weekend to learn about enhancing a membership that I have that is so dear to my heart that I invested, 4 days of my time and a boatload of money to go and learn what I could. I wanted to be open so that God could show me ways that we might make this group more effective. And I have other groups that we do. We're doing a core strength, walking core strength group, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. So there's a lot of group dynamics that I want to make sure I do well and do right. And in order to do that, in order to grow, you have to be open. You have to be teachable and open, especially to God and the Holy Spirit and wise others who can help you take the next step of your journey. And then R, I'm going to be responsible for myself and respectful toward others without dishonoring myself. And then E, I'm going to be empathic and compassionate without enabling destructive behavior to continue. So one of our core values is empathy and compassion. And so please don't hear me say that you shouldn't have it. You should have it. God calls you to love your enemy. He calls us not to be overcome by evil, because if we do, we will go to the dark side. We will begin to hate. And hate and violence never changes anything. It just destroys more. So whether it's racial injustice or arguments in the church or arguments at home and disagreements and destructive kinds of things, don't be a part of that. But yet there is this dark side of empathy and compassion or love that I want to talk about, because sometimes our greatest strength can also be our weakness if we're not careful. For example, let's say that you're a generous person and you love to give and serve and be there for people, and that's a wonderful quality. Please don't change that. However, if you're that kind of person who has absolutely no boundaries about doing that, or when you do that, or how you do that, or how much you do that, what happens to you? You get flatlined. You get worn out. You get resentful. Hey, I'm the only one who's giving, or hey, no one's giving back to me. I remember everybody else's birthday. Nobody remembers mine. I call for my girlfriends to get together. They never call me back. I'm always having people at my house. Nobody invites me over. How's that feeling for you? It's not working, right? So empathy and compassion are great qualities, and you must have them if you want to be a healthy individual. But sometimes we have too much of a good thing, right? I mean, ice cream is good, but if you eat too much, it becomes toxic to your body, right? And so I want to give you some of the reasons and red flags maybe to help you know that if you're a naturally empathic, or you've been labeled an empath, as some of the research has called us now, and you are extremely sensitive to other people's emotions, you have to have some boundaries, because it's not good for you to absorb all the emotions of other people, especially when they're toxic. Empathy means that you can put yourself in someone's shoes. You can feel what they feel, which is a great thing as long as you have some boundaries around it. Because if you feel all the toxic emotions that everybody else around you feels, guess what? You're going to start being poisoned by them. And so just like our body has skin on it to protect our insides, our more vulnerable parts, our blood vessels, our bones, our muscles, our skin protects us from bugs that could fly into our body, or pathogens or germs. It's the first level of defense, so that whatever is in our environment doesn't become toxic to our more vital organs. You need some skin on if you are an empath and you are a person who feels deeply other people's pain. If you are constantly, feeling hurt and anxious, not for your own life, but for someone else's life. And then in your compassion, you give and you serve and you help and you knock yourself out to help the other person. That's not good for you. It's not good for you for a couple of reasons. One's, like I said, you're allowing way too much toxin to get into your body, just like if you were a nurse. If you were a nurse and you had compassion, you still wear gloves before you touch a patient, right? That's the first level of defense, is to put, not only your skin is protected, but they put the gloves on and a mask, even if you're contagious. It's not that they don't care, but they're having some boundaries around that caring, and that I don't just care with no caution to how this caring will impact me, my body, my mind, my spirit, my finances, right? And so when you don't have, if you have a boatload of compassion and a boatload of empathy, you're probably in a helping profession, or just a great mom, or you are a great neighbor, or you are a good helper in the church. Wonderful. Don't change that. Add something else. And that is good boundaries. Good boundaries. Put your gloves on. Put your mask on if you're going to go in there. Or put your own oxygen mask on first. Right? That doesn't mean we don't care. It means that if a plane's going down and we're so busy saving everybody else that we didn't put our own oxygen mask on first, how long do you think it's going to last that you can help people? Not very long, right? And so you want to exercise good self-care. You want to be sure that you're practicing the R step of core strength, which is I will take responsibility for myself, because sometimes compassionate and empathetic people use that strength to deflect or distract themselves from their own work. Like maybe they do need to get stronger. Maybe they do need to have boundaries. Maybe they do need to learn to say no. But they use the spiritualizing of empathy and compassion to pat themselves on the back, saying they're really doing God's work and they're doing good things, but they're not taking responsibility for stewarding their own life. Jesus said no to people. He said, not now. I can't. I'm going off to the garden to pray. I'm going off to sleep. I'm going to a quiet place to get away from the crowds. He had to recharge his battery. And so when you have a high level of empathy and compassion, it's most natural for you to give out. But be careful. If you don't have those boundaries and use them and know how to use them, it can be really toxic for you, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Proverbs 6 is a really good verse about, hold on, I drink my coffee in the morning. Proverbs 6 is really good about not co-signing on a loan for someone who can't afford it. In our compassion and in our care for someone, we might want to overfunction to help them overfunction. And so the second reason that empathy and compassion, the second time or some second place that empathy and compassion go toxic, is when you care so much that you're willing to scoop someone up and take care of them when they should be taking care of themselves. You see, we foster an unhealthy dependency on us as the hero, as the savior, as the rescuer. Like we get an ego boost because I helped you, I saved you from disaster, but that's not good for them. Many times people need to learn to stand on their own 2 feet, especially if they're becoming adults or already adults. I mean, if your child said to you, Mom, I don't feel like learning how to go on the toilet. I just want you to change my diaper my whole life. Any sane mother would say, well, that's not okay. This is something you need to learn. So you're going to get potty trained whether you like it or not. And we don't say that because we're not compassionate or we're not empathetic. We say this because we know it's in the absolute best interest of our child not to go to kindergarten in diapers, right? They would be mocked. They would be shamed. They would be made fun of their whole life. Why would you do that to your child, right? In the same way, sometimes our empathy and compassion move in too quickly to rescue someone from drowning in their own mess when they need to drown a bit so that they call out to the Lord. They get to that bottom that AA so often talks about. So they begin to recognize, I made a mess of my life. So in Proverbs 6, when you jump in and you co-sign a loan, God's saying, don't do that. That's foolish. You're enabling them to be irresponsible with their money by you coming in and over functioning for them. Now, this is so important for you as women with a destructive husband or children, because sometimes you're feeling like the only place I feel good about myself is as a mother. And so I overfunction. I feel sorry that my husband's harsh to my kids, or I feel sorry that he's not the kind of dad. So I'm trying to be super mom and I'm overfunctioning. But in some ways, you could be crippling your kids to be overly dependent on you to solve their problems, to soothe all their feelings. Even a wise mom, when a baby is born, she soothes, she holds them and wraps them and soothes them. But there comes a transition point where they have a little thumb or a little pacifier or a little blankie. And what does that help them do? It helps them to soothe themselves. And so if you aren't teaching your children and you aren't helping your husband in a good way to learn from his mistakes, not by rescuing him. Someone just said on something I was reading, she said, my husband used to break things when he was mad, and I'm the one who's sweeping it up. Why would you do that? I feel bad that he feels bad now that he wrecked all this stuff. Well, then let him clean it up. If he really feels bad, let him do the work to begin to change. Not that you just rescue him so he doesn't feel bad. Feeling bad about yourself can be a great motivator to say, look, I don't want to be this kind of person. I need to do something different. When you keep rescuing out of your love and compassion and say, oh, you're such a good person. You really are a good person. I know you didn't mean this. And we're not calling someone on their, you know what? That's not love. That's not helping them. That's rescuing them from feeling their own uncomfortable feelings, which might help them grow up, mature, repent, change, whatever it is that they need to do. So having too much compassion or unhealthy compassion and empathy hurts you. It hurts the other person. It hurts your ministry. You see, I have a lot of compassion and empathy. But if I spent it all doing what everybody asks me to do, I would be watered too thin to do Facebook Lives, to write blogs, to help the people God's called me to help, right? And so we can't do everything. Jesus couldn't do everything. And so you have to say no to some things. And in order to do that, you have to let your compassion, empathy say, yeah, I feel for this person, but it's not my responsibility. I'm taking responsibility for myself. I'm not going to take responsibility for you. That's your responsibility, because I have these responsibilities to fulfill for my mission in the kingdom, and I have to clarify that for myself. And lastly, when you are too compassionate and empathetic, it actually hurts the relationship. It hurts your relationship with your children, with your husband, with your mother, with your friends. Because when you are the total giver and you don't ask for mutuality or reciprocity in a relationship, who do you tend to attract? You attract needy, dependent people who are takers, and they don't know how or don't want to give. Now, that may be okay if you're in a ministry setting and you're helping the homeless, or you're helping someone there's no expectations of a relationship. You're just ministering to them. But if you're in a relationship with someone, how long does that last? Where you're the constant giver. It lasts until a baby gets to be about 2 years old, right? And then you're expecting something back. Like, no, you wait. Mommy's busy right now. I've got your baby sister to take care of, right? You expect more maturity there. You expect more mutuality. And when you are constantly giving with I'm not saying requirements, but without any mutuality or reciprocity in the relationship, it becomes a very lopsided, unhealthy, unbalanced relationship. And that's not good for you to not have healthy relationships. And it's not good for the other person not to have healthy relationships. And so what do you think? Are you over loving? Are you loving too much? Not that you want to move to hate. You want to move to great love, great compassion, great empathy with really wise discernment and boundaries. So if this rings a bell for you and you say, oh my gosh, this is me, I would invite you to think about taking the next step. I'm starting a group coaching on in walking and core strength. We do this every year in September, and we'll do another one in March. And the classes are almost full. We have only 4 openings in the afternoon class and 4 openings in the morning class. The evening class is full, so it will fill up. It's going to be starting September 10th. So we would like for you to think about joining. And so if you're curious about what a group coaching experience is like, it's 20 women. You're all working on walking and core strength. You're all working on the same 4 things. So we're going to get deep. If you took the intro class, you know we're going to get even deeper. That was a very powerful class for many of you. And so if you want some more information about that walking and core strength coaching class, we have a morning class, an afternoon class, and an evening class. And like I said, right now the evening class is full. You can put your name on a wait list if you want, if someone ends up dropping out or when we do it again in March. But the morning class and the afternoon class still have 4 openings. So if you are interested, head over to leslievernick.com/group coaching to read more about it. All right. So I want to answer your questions now about this: when compassion and empathy become toxic to you, to the relationship, and to the other person. Just be careful. This is my public Facebook page. So I want you to be wise on what you post so that you're not getting yourself in an uncomfortable situation. So, all right. Do we have some questions? All right, Martha, I don't see any questions yet. Let me just look on the feed. Hi, good morning, everybody. Let me just see where you're all from while Martha's getting me some questions. My mama is super glad he was born. Yeah, thank you so much, Jean. Is this when empathy and compassion turn toxic? That's it. That's what we're talking about right now. You know, and I don't think the church really talks about that. Yeah, Dana brings up a really good point, equating being an empath with boundaries, with guarding my heart. So God calls us to love unconditionally, but he also calls us, above all else, Proverbs 4:26, I think it says, above all else, guard your heart. It is the wellspring of life. What is your heart? It is your innermost being, your thoughts, your feelings, your desires, your goals, your aspirations, but even more importantly, your virtues and your values. And how do you guard that so that other people don't crush your spirit? A crushed spirit, who can bear, right? And so just like your body needs boundaries, your heart needs not walls, not, big walls that nobody can get in and you can't get out. We're not talking about that. Boundaries are simply what you can do, what you can't do, who you are, who you aren't, what's okay with you, what's not okay with you. What defines me as Leslie are my boundaries, right? My values, my virtues. I'm not the same as everybody, and you aren't either. But if you don't have those in place, like I was just talking to my parents, I was visiting them a little bit in Chicago before I went to Toronto. And, my mom tends to be an empath, and happens to elderly people sometimes, where they get a lot of donation requests, from a gazillion, you get them all. We all get them. Can you send us money? And she feels, compassion, and she's writing checks. If you don't have any boundaries on that, so for me, I get a lot of requests for contributions too, but if the cause for this ministry, whatever it is, it might be a worthy cause, but if it's not a cause that's God's put on my heart to contribute. So I contribute lots of money to domestic violence issues and, Give Her Wings and other organizations that help women in abusive relationships, and the church. But those are the causes that God has called me to give into, whether it's my time, my energy, or my money. So if I spread that too thin and I'm giving $10 here and $10 here and $10 here and $10 here, is that going to make as much of an impact as if I can give that whole $100 to one place that is in line with my virtues and my values? right? And so that's what makes me me. It doesn't, you don't have to do that, but you know who you are. And if you don't, Core Strength is a great place, a great group to start to get to know who you are. All right, got lots of questions now. I feel like I don't have a lot of friends who are true friends. How do I find some? So this is a really critical component to our society right now, because people are not forming friendships. And if they're forming friendships, they're not forming healthy ones. Lots of reasons why. Depression and anxiety is at an all-time high. We don't have the social supports that we used to have with family, neighbors, church, community, because people are busy on their smartphones. They're distracted by Facebook. They have, I'm not saying Facebook are fake friends, but they're not the same kind of friends as you would have when you really get to know people. Because I just read a book over on the airplane home, and it was a spoof on Facebook and Instagram, because these families were falling apart. Each chapter was a different family writing on their Facebook post and on their Instagram post how wonderful everything is, but the chapter was about what it was really like in their family. And so we put what we want to put about ourselves on the public media, but there's a whole lot going on I realize that nobody knows anything about. And so I would encourage you to make that a priority, because the Bible says we need friends and we become like the company we keep. And so this group, Walking a Core Strength group, is a place. If you are searching for learning how to have more mutual and reciprocal relationships, these 20 women in every group that we've ever done, and we've done them for 5 years now, you will get close. You will be on a Facebook page with all the women who are taking this class, and you will get to know them. Some of them might even live in your town. I don't know. But this is a place to start practicing that mutuality, reciprocity, learning your core strength skills that I'll teach you if you have to speak up to someone or you have to confront someone. How do you do it even in the group? Like, hey, I feel like someone's taking up way too much time in the group and they're not giving enough other people time to share. How do you share that in a constructive way? If you take responsibility for yourself and say, hey, I need some time too. I want to talk about my problems in the group, right? And so I teach you all how to do that in the group. So friendship is really, really important. And Conquer, which is a different group, is a larger group, but that's going to be one of my main themes this next year. We're going to do a Conquer conference again next year. And so I really want to I think we're going to theme it growing stronger together. And how do we build those communities of friends and true friends? And so I would encourage you, if you're not going to join this group and you're not going to join Conquer, no problem, but start with an organization that you believe in. So many of people as a church, but it might be something else for you. It might be, I remember one of my coaching clients joined a knitting club, and she said, while we sit there and knit, we've gotten to know each other, and we've shared our problems and we've shared our struggles. We've become really good friends. But understand that in order to be a good friend, you have to be able to have the freedom. So we talked about mutuality, reciprocity are important ingredients in any relationship, but you also have to have the freedom in a friendship of any kind, whether it's a marriage friendship or a girlfriend friendship, to say no. So if you have a good friend, whoever she is, and you're afraid to say no, I can't get together, no, I can't talk right now, no, I don't want to lend you money, I don't have any to lend. If you don't have the freedom to say no, understand there's something off in that relationship, either with you, like I'm a people pleaser and I'm afraid she's going to reject me, and test it, because if she rejects you because you won't do what she wants, she's not a true friend. But we're so afraid of feeling that hurt. We're so afraid of feeling those feelings. And so I would encourage you, one, make it a goal. I need some friends. I need to have mutual friends. Second, if you currently have friends, I might have a discussion with them. So put your big girl's pants on and say, and we'll talk about how to do this in the class, I need to tell you something that I'm really uncomfortable with, and it's a problem that I'm having, and I want to know if you'd be willing to listen. So you're not saying there's a problem with you, or there's a problem with our relationship, there's a problem with me. I don't know that I've been truly honest with you about, but I'm feeling kind of like our relationship is a little lopsided. Over the last, I'm not keeping score or anything, but over the last, year or so, I don't think you've ever called me. I don't think you've ever invited me over. I don't think you've ever asked even how I'm doing. I'm sort of the one who's maintaining our relationship. And I'm wondering if our relationship is as important to you as it is to me, because I don't see you putting the energy into it. Now, she might say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I've taken advantage of it. And she might be great about it. Or she might be defensive and critical and huffy and, puffy, and then she's not healthy. She can't hear the truth. And, hey, this probably isn't a person I can go deeper with. It doesn't mean you can't go out to lunch with her, but you can't go deeper with it because you can't have honest conversations, which is part of a healthy relationship, marriage or otherwise. All right? Okay, let me answer another question. I'm in the process of leaving your marriage well. My mother-in-law lives in a house we own on our property. My husband has been enabling her by not charging her rent. Now that we are divorcing, he has put the property on the market to sale without taking her thoughts or feelings into account. I've always been the go-between between my husband and his mother, smoothing over any confrontations. Now she's crying out to me, and I am to untwine myself from both relationships. I don't know how to maneuver this and still be loving and caring. Great question. How can I help her without continuing to enable both of them by relying on me to fix things? This is a great question for exactly what we're going to teach about in this class. So I'll give you the blueprint, and if you want to take the class to actually learn the whole dialogue, we'll do that. So I think you can be very compassionate and empathetic. So here's what you do. You validate her feelings. I know this is a scary time for you, Mom. I know your whole life is turning upside down. Our lives are turning upside down too. And you know, I've kind of understood some of my dysfunction in all of this is I've always kind of come between you and your husband's name, whatever his name, you and Jack, to try to fix things or smooth things over. And God is really showing me that that's not my place. It's not my place anymore. It's your job to speak up to your son, and it's his job to learn to speak honestly with you. And as much as I'd like to, part of me would like to come in and rescue it and fix it for you, God is showing me that that's not my place anymore. And so I will pray for you that you have the strength to tell him how you feel, but I can't get in the middle anymore. And that would be a great conversation to have to adult children who want your help too. I remember just talking to someone this weekend, and she had this conversation with her adult child who wanted alone, which is never alone, right? And she said, maybe, let me think about it, so compassion and empathy, I know it's really hard to get on your feet. So, why don't you write down, but she knew that he was spending money recklessly. Okay. So he was being irresponsible. So she said, let me think about it, but send me your budget. Give me an itemized list of all your expenses and then all your income and how many hours you're working. And then we can talk. Well, of course he didn't do that because he wanted to be irresponsible. He wanted to take days off and not work and get a loan from mom and dad. Well, that's not maturity, is it? So by her being empathetic and compassionate, not closed, but not overgiving, but requiring something of him to take the next step, he didn't take that next step. And so those are a couple of ways that we talk about how to do that so that you can show empathy and compassion. I'll give you one more phrase. So let's say that you are in a, kind of a stale place with your husband and he wants to be sexually intimate and you're feeling really used by that. Okay, and he's mad that you won't have sex, and you can be empathetic and compassionate. You can say, I get it. I understand this is an important part of marriage, and this is an important part of that was a good part of our relationship was. But I also feel like I have to take care of me. And when you don't show me any kind of love or respect or care in any other area of our life other than you want me to go to bed with you, that just doesn't work for me, because I feel like a used prostitute or something, that I'm just giving you my body to use for your orgasm, but there isn't any mutuality or reciprocity or friendship to for our relationship. So I'm really sorry, but I just can't do that anymore. If you want to work on the relationship, I'm all in, but I can't do it that way anymore. Okay, so now you're practicing C, I'm courageously committed to truth. O, I'm open to learning and growing. R, I'm going to take responsibility for myself. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to be respectful of you. I'm not going to blow up at you or treat you harshly or ugly. I'm going to be compassionate, empathetic. Of course that hurts you, but I still can't do it, right? I'm not going to enable you to think our relationship is okay, because I still will do that. I can't do that anymore. Okay, so I hope that helps you. All right. I work at night. What time is the daytime group? So the daytime group is going to be at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, 6:30 a.m. my time. So those of you who are in my 6:30 class, it's good. It's good. I get up early. And then that's the morning class. The afternoon class is at noon Eastern time, which is 9 o'clock my time. So you will hear me chugging my coffee. And then the evening group is at 7:30, I think, 7:30 Eastern time. Okay, so there's 3 times, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the evening. And the evening one is full. So you would have to take morning or afternoon or get on the wait list for the evening. But this is one thing I'm going to ask you. We only take 20 people. So if you're not sure and you're saying, well, I better sign up because I don't know if I want to really do it, but I want to get one of those spots. Please don't do that, because we only take 20 people. And if you take a spot and then tell me the day before the class, I changed my mind, I don't want to be in it, that hurt someone that could have been committed to this class. So I'm going to be strict on this. Please don't take the class if you're not sure you can commit and that you want to take it. So the dates are on the class when you open up the web, the link, which is lesliebernick.com/group coaching. That'll give you all the dates. And if you miss one, it's okay. They're tape recorded. But be committed to yourself first. I'm going to do this. I sent out a newsletter today for many of you, The One Thing. And if you didn't get it, you're not on my mailing list, check the feed in the Facebook page because it's up there too. The One Thing. And the one thing is the only person you can work on is you. So do that. Don't go through a whole nother year just feeling stuck and victimized. Take responsibility for yourself and say, I need to work on me, and do it. Do it in one way or another. All right. One of my friends just caught her husband in an affair. How do I help her be strong and not just run back because he says he's sorry? So the best way you can be a friend is to be empathetic and compassionate, just like we talked about, with the truth. Okay? So not just with good boundaries. I'm hoping you already have good boundaries, but how do I be empathetic and compassionate and yet still tell her the truth? So this has been devastating for you. I'm sure you're feeling terrified. You have no idea, whether your marriage is going to make it or not. But honey, this is real. I mean, he cheated on you. And he says he's sorry, but how do you know you can ever trust him? What's he willing to do to rebuild trust? What's he willing to do to work on himself that he would allow himself to do such a destructive thing to you? Don't just listen to your fear right now. Listen to the Lord. What's God telling you? Forgive, yes, but what else is he telling you? What work does your husband need to do? What work does your marriage need to do to come through this stronger than ever? Don't just settle for him coming home and saying he's sorry, or it's my experience that it's just going to happen again and again and again. Is that what you want? So you're compassionate and truthful at the same time. You see, sometimes in our compassion, we're not willing to tell the truth. But even a doctor who says, look, I just had a friend who died of pancreatic cancer. And about 6 months ago, the doctor said to him, okay, I don't have the best news. Your scans aren't doing well, and it's probably best for you to get your affairs in order because, your body's not going to last more than 6 months. Was that mean or was that loving? It was loving. So that he didn't live in la la land, and he did what he needed to do to get ready to meet his creator and to say goodbye to his family. All right. So couple that compassion and empathy with truth. Don't enable her to lie to herself by colluding. Oh yeah, just, try harder to be a good wife, have, go, watch porn with him or whatever he wants you to do. Don't go there. Just speak the truth, but be compassionate and empathetic toward her fears of losing her marriage and her husband, because it's real. I have come out of a long-term abusive narcissistic relationship, wasn't conquer. There's a good man who's interested in me, but my parents are concerned because he has been diagnosed ADD. They are concerned that this may drain me in the future, considering my past. Should I cut off all ties or get to know him more to get information? Well, depends. So I can't say what you should do. You have to decide what you should do. But I would ask yourself to observe him honestly and objectively on how his character, not his ADD, how his character interacts with his ADD. So character qualities are different than charm. Charm is he's fun, he's rich, he's got a great car, he's got a great job, he's a stable worker, he's, stable worker is more of a character quality. He's handsome. We're not looking at that. If you want to marry somebody, you got to go way beyond that. Is he honest? Is he faithful? Does he pay his bills? Does he go to work? Does he accept responsibility when he messes up? Does he work on himself? Is he willing to grow? All right. And I don't care what he says. You want to see that. You want to see that. So if I were dating again, a second time around, I hope I never have to do that. But if I were, I would definitely ask questions like, you know, how many jobs has he had? Do you know how many jobs he's had? Has he been able to do his job? Has he been fired repeatedly? Does he have any money in the bank? Has he paid his taxes? Can you do a credit rating on him or a credit check to see his history on reliability and honesty? Was he married before? How many times before? Why did those relationships end? What insights did he gain from that? How did he grow from that? Because there can be a lot of stress with ADD because they, get hyper focused on one thing and don't do other things. And they, have issues. Is he getting treatment for that? Is he willing to go to coaching for that? Is he willing to do what he needs to do to develop alternative ways of remembering things because he's not going to remember things? I would check all those boxes out before you tie yourself with someone who's got that issue. Same with any other issue. If you knew someone was depressed or bipolar, or it doesn't mean they're not a good person in their character, that they really have they have a disability and they're really trying hard to work within that and overcome that and get help. Those are all good character qualities. But if they're in denial and they're making excuses and they're not taking responsibility and they've got a history of choppy job and they have in debt, I would run as fast as you can if you see that. Okay. All right. What's the age group of this call? Would my single 21-year-old daughter be able to take this course? Or is it only for those who have been married? So it's not only for those who've been married, but a 21-year-old may feel a little young in the class because probably most women who take this class are going to be between the ages of 35 and 55. We've had some 70-year-old women take the class, and we've had some, 25, 26, 27-year-old women taking the class. But so if she's comfortable having lots of older women around her, married and divorced, and some not married. Some people take the class because they've been single and they're in destructive relationships with their mother or their girlfriend, or their not girlfriend, like girlfriend, but just friendship, or they're in a destructive relationship with their, boss at work. And so they want to figure out, how do I handle myself? Or even they're not currently in a bad place in their, just, in terms of relationship, but they're in a bad place in terms of themselves. Their self-esteem is bad. They're kind of had the victim mindset, like my identity is shaped by what happens to me, right? So am I controlled and identified by what happens to me, or am I controlled and identified by who I am and how I handle what happens to me? There's a very different mindset shift there. And so core strength really helps you to take that mindset and shift and deal with that. But she will be in a group with probably mostly older women. They may not all be married, but they probably will be older, just to be totally honest and transparent. All right, I don't see any other questions. So if that's it, Martha, just double check with me and see if there's any other questions. I'm going to do one more Facebook Live on Thursday. And I just thought of this the other day and I thought, I have never talked about this, and I really haven't emphasized this so much in my core teaching. And I don't know that I'll have time to emphasize it in the class as much as I want to. But there's the R step. We talk a lot about taking responsibility for yourself, whether it's I have to steward my time and so I have to have boundaries, or steward my money, or steward my mind, or I have to take responsibility for myself when I mess up. I can't blame anybody else, just like I don't want them to blame me when they mess up, right? I've got to own my stuff. Do my own work is my hashtag. But so I will take responsibility for myself and I will be respectful toward others. But this last phrase we've never really talked about, I don't think anywhere publicly, without dishonoring myself. So what does it mean to dishonor yourself? Not to have someone else dishonor you, but what does it mean when you dishonor yourself? And why is that important not to do that? All right? What does it mean for you when you dishonor yourself? Right? And then how do you take action and think differently so that you don't do that? And so we're going to do a Facebook Live. I think, Martha, you can put it in the chat what time it is. I can't remember because I just got home from Toronto about 10 o'clock last night. And so I'm still trying to reorient myself to my schedule this week and life as it is. But Thursday, I think it's the same time in the morning at noon, or noon Eastern time. But I think it's the same time. So if you're interested in that, like maybe you've been dishonoring yourself and you've been doing things you don't want to do, and you've been putting up with things you don't want to put up with, and you feel horrible about yourself. You've been saying things out of anger and reacting to things that make you feel horrible. come to that next Facebook Live, because that will help you. And that's a key component of developing core strength. You may not fix your relationship, but you're not going to feel horrible about you. I just did a coaching call this morning with a woman, and I said, how are things going? And she said, all right. And I said, tell me more. What's going on? And she said, well, actually, I'm okay. It's just my circumstances are still crappy. And I said, that sounds different. That sounds different. I'm okay. I feel strong. I feel capable. I'm coping, even though things in my world are not the way I want them to be. That's very different than things that are not okay out there are controlling me, and I feel depressed and despair and angry and volatile and reactive. Big difference. Core strength will help you be okay. Maybe you don't like it all, but you're okay. It is well with my soul. I'm not dishonoring myself. I am trusting God even when life isn't the way I want it to be. And I am responding to that in a way that enhances my growth and not dishonors myself and collapses my growth. So come on Thursday, we'll talk some more about that. All right, a couple other questions before we go. My 26-year-old daughter wants nothing to do with me. She blames me for staying with my current husband, who she got into an argument with. How do I handle her? Well, first of all, it's not about handling her at this point. She's 26 years old. She's an adult. And so I think you have to kind of own or listen to her comment. Like, you've stayed with someone who's harmed her or harmed you. And that's, in her mind, wrong. And that's hurtful. You are her mother, and you stayed with, I'm assuming he's not her father, you stayed with a second husband who harmed her, and you were passive. So I think you have some repair work to do. And I would go to her and say, I hear you. I hear you. You're really angry. This is the empathy and compassion. I hear you're really angry that I stayed with your stepdad, and that in that process you got harmed. He hurt you. And I hear that. And that doesn't make me feel good about myself. That doesn't make me feel like an honorable mom, right? I dishonored myself, and I dishonored you by enabling him, by staying quiet or passive or fearful or whatever I did. So here's where, she's blaming you. And I think where you can say, and I hear you, and I think you're right, or I think you're wrong, whichever it is. I think you're right, and I'm committed to working on that. I remember working with a woman who was so passive in her marriage and so filled with false teaching in scripture that she knew that her husband, wasn't the children's father, was sexually abusing her daughter, and she did nothing. She did nothing because she was too afraid to rock the boat until she wasn't. All right. So then when the daughter was older and the woman got a little stronger, she left and she got divorced. But when the daughter was in her 20s, she came back to the mother and said, I'm angry. And the mother was so good with this because she had done her own work. And she said, you are right. And I am so sorry that I didn't know how to speak up for myself. I didn't know how to set boundaries. I was so scared and so caught in a lie that God hates divorce above all else, that I allowed him to hurt you, knowing that he was hurting you. But I didn't know how to stop it because I was too weak and I was too scared. I'm not that woman anymore, but I get that I hurt you. And I am willing to pay for your therapy or do whatever it takes to help you get on your feet. Because now this is your journey to take. I can't fix this for you. You have to take responsibility for yourself. And if there's damage inside because of what happened, you've got to do the work. I'll help you financially to do the work as a way of showing you how sorry I am, but I can't do your work. And these are all ways of talking that I'll give you actual videos in the class in Walking Core Strength on how to say things, and give you a kind of almost a little formula so that you can say it your way, but you know what has to go in each spot. That will really help you as best you can invite your daughter back into a relationship by owning your mistake, by showing sorrow, by repenting and making amends where you can. All right. But understand that if you have overfunctioned and enabled someone to sin against your children, whether it's their father or your husband, they're going to have some fallout for that. And I think part of being healthy is to own that and own it. And so one of the things I teach in Core Strength is, how can you look at your own missteps? How can you look at your own failures, right? As a mother, and I've had my own, right? How can you look at those when your kids come back and tell you that you failed them in a certain, how can you look at those and take responsibility without the shame of, oh, I was a horrible mother, I did nothing right, what's wrong? No, that's not true. But there are some things that you did that may have caused harm to someone. And part of a healthy relationship, even in marriage, is to listen to that. Like if you cause your husband's harm or he causes you harm and you talk about that, you can repair it, like the affair. If you talk about it and deal with it and work on it and work to not repeat it, that can make a relationship stronger, right? But when you won't talk about it and you avoid it and you deny it and you dismiss it, nothing can fix. You can't fix it if you don't talk about it and deal with it. All right? All right. One more question. Oh, two more questions, it looks like. Okay. How do I tell my 2 grown daughters I want a relationship with them, but not while they're being judgmental, calling me a liar, blaming me? So here's the danger of being too compassionate and empathetic. This is exactly it. When you are the overfunctioner mother who's living in a unhappy, not only unhappy, but destructive and abusive marriage, but you're pretending and making nice and making your kids think everything's fine when there is rats and termites in the basement. But you're saying, oh, no, it's fine. We're fine. We've got this little happy, Walton family or Leave It to Beaver family. And your kids are thinking. And then when you can't do that anymore because you're just plumb worn out or so angry or so depleted, like we talked about, you didn't steward yourself well. And so now you can't do it anymore. You can't keep up the facade anymore. And you are reactive and you're angry and you're, exploding. All your kids see, because they never saw him, all they're seeing is you. And you're the evil queen. You're the bad person. You're the sinner. Dad's the victim of your outbursts. Dad's the victim of your unhealthy boundaries. That's what they're seeing because you've covered for him their whole life. Was that good for them? No. Was that good for him? No. I'm not saying tell your kids your husband's dirty laundry. I'm not saying that. But I am saying when you pretend everything's fine when it's not, this is what happens. Your kids grow up and you start setting boundaries and you start getting healthier and you say, I'm not putting up with this. And your kids see you as the one who broke up the family. They see you as the ungodly woman because you've been so nice and so loving and so tolerant and so forbearing and so willing to forgive and so everything that there's been no consequences, no boundaries, no truth. Their minds are mixed up. And so I think what you can say to your daughters is something like this. I get it. I get why you see me as the bad guy. I made a huge mistake growing up and that I thought it was biblical to cover everything over, to pretend that things were fine when they weren't, to try to, just make do with what crumbs he would give me, even though it was awful. And I got to a place where I just couldn't do it anymore. And not only that, I didn't see it as right anymore. I saw it as enabling. And so I get that you didn't see the whole picture. I shielded you from that, and I'd love to have a relationship with you, but we're adults now, and I don't want to be in a relationship where someone is attacking me. If you've got a problem, I'm willing to listen, but I don't want to be judged and condemned and called names. That's not good for me, and it's actually not good for you. So if you want to be in a relationship, I'm all ears. I'm willing to talk, but not that way. So there's your boundary. This is who I am. This is who I'm not. This is what I'm willing to do. This is what I'm not willing to do. All said with love and compassion, inviting them into a relationship with boundaries. Okay. All right. One more. 2 more. Okay. I recently separated from my psychologically abusive husband. My children have seen the things he does, but don't recognize it as abuse. Several of them are turning into my husband behaviorally. That's why I left. Now I'm being blamed. How do I help them see I'm being truthful and trying to take care of them? Teens and young adults. So we've got some tree trimmers here or something, so they may be making some noise. I'm sorry. I think this is the job of parenting, whether your husband's influencing them or their peers are influencing them. Sometimes they take on qualities, character qualities or ideas or mindsets that are not healthy. And I think this is where you need to have empathy and compassion again. So these are important qualities of how you say something, and to be able to say, I get that you're thinking things through. I get that you're a teenager. I get that, your whole life is turned upside down since I left your dad. But understand this, when you cut someone off from a conversation, whatever they're doing, if you cut someone off, or you roll your eyes when they talk, or when you snicker when they say something, that hurts the relationship. So maybe you don't care about your relationship with your mom right now, because most teenagers don't. That's not a priority for them. But if you want a relationship with a girl someday, or you want a relationship with a boy someday, and you do that, you're going to hurt that relationship. And so I'm just telling you that these things are not healthy. Yes, you saw them happening in our home, but they're not healthy aspects of a good relationship. If you're upset with someone, or you don't like someone, or you don't like something, tell me. Don't snicker at me. Don't roll your eyes in a disrespectful gesture. Just tell me, Mom, I don't agree with what you said. I can handle that. What I can't handle is you, whatever. That's disrespectful to me as a person and as your mom. And if you do it to your teacher, or you do it to a friend, or you do it to a girlfriend, hopefully they won't put up with it either. All right. So you're giving them truthful categories in which to see things, in which to hang these things, because they never got those before. It's like going to a foreign country and not understanding the language. You don't know what's going on, right? And so you just behave like you normally behave, but you're under a lot of stress. They're under a lot of stress, and they may not be handling themselves well. They've seen things that look normal. This is how things are. I mean, when you grow up in that, it's normal. I remember talking to a client, and she said, her husband cursed her out, and I said, is that okay with you? And she said, no, but every man curses his wife out. Doesn't your husband curse you out? I said, no. I said, no, never. No, never. Does he get angry? Yeah. Has he ever cursed me out? No. I don't believe you. I've never met anybody whose husband doesn't curse. So that was normal for her. That was just normal. So that was acceptable. That women put up with that, because that's what men do. Even Christian men, even pastors. My uncle was a pastor. He did it. Everybody does it. No, they don't. But your kids don't know that. And so you're going to have to, this is a long-term issue, is still parenting them and saying this isn't acceptable, just as if they were stealing money from your purse, or they were leaving messes on the floor. Hey, this isn't acceptable. You have to clean this up. This isn't acceptable. You have to do, this is part of, these are the consequences if you don't choose to do that. And there's the consequences. No, I'm not driving you to the mall. No, I'm not making your dinner. If you don't clean up your dishes from lunch, I can't get to the sink to make your dinner. Fend for yourself. So then we'll talk about that more in the course of how you can implement some consequences for that. All right. One more question. My daughter is very close to my emotionally destructive husband, who I am in the process of divorcing. She has sent me several very vile and cruel, disturbing texts saying terrible things about how I am the one who's gaslighting, and I am the one who's manipulative. May God have mercy on me. What would be a healthy thing for me to do to still love my daughter, but have a boundary or healthy communication with her? I would say that if she's reaching out to you with attacks, then she either wants to hurt you or harm you, or she wants you to respond either in kind, so that can validate her impression of you, or she wants you to respond because she needs answers. So I might give her a little bit of rope, and I might say, I am so willing to have a conversation with you about your concerns and what you observe in me, as long as we can have it with constructive words and honest talk, without name calling or shouting or cursing or whatever she's prone to do. And I'd be happy to meet you anytime, any place, to have that conversation. But I'm not okay with you just accusing and attacking. So if you want to have a conversation about your concerns about me being manipulative or me being gaslighting, I'm open to that. But I'm not okay with just being clobbered every other day through a text. So let me know what works for you. Right? So you're saying, here's what I can do, here's what I can't do, here's what I will do, here's what I won't do. And that's only you can figure that out. But a healthy person, if she were coming to your house every day and stealing food out of your refrigerator, if she was coming every day to your house and making a mess everywhere, you would say, this isn't okay with me. This isn't okay with me. You can't come in and do this. Right? So I have to put a lock on my door, take my key back, take your key back. So when she's doing this verbally, it's okay for you to say, I'm willing to talk about your concerns, but only in a way that has safety and that leads to healing, not just blaming. Right? And you may not have to say all of that right now, but that's the goal. And if all she wants to do is come and shoot bullets at you, Why would you stand there and take it? That's not good for her, and it's not good for you, because that dishonors herself when she does that. And it certainly dishonors you, and it hurts you, harms you, and that's not good. All right, I think we're done. So we will see you on Thursday to talk about what does it mean to dishonor yourself. And if you're interested in this walking and core strength class, please go to leslievernick.com, www.leslievernick.com/group coaching. It'll give you all the details. And I hope I see you there. Take care. Bye.